Welcome to Dirt Diaries, the podcast where the women of agriculture get real. From muddy boots to boardrooms, we're digging into the unfiltered stories of the FarmHers, ranchers, and every her shaping the future of ag. This isn't just shop talk, it's real talk. We're covering career paths, big wins, hard lessons, and everything in between. So whether you live it every day or you're just ag curious, pop in your earbuds and get ready. These are the raw, inspiring, and wildly relatable conversations you won't hear anywhere else. Let's dig in. If you followed along in the ag space, you've probably seen Mary's name pop up again and again, and for good reason. She's the force behind Five Mary's Ranch, where she and her husband raise cattle, hogs, and sheep the old school way, by hand, as a family and with a whole lot of heart. Oh, and did I mention she's raising 4 daughters? Yep, it's as legendary as it sounds and as good as it gets. In this episode, Mary opens up about her journey from Silicon Valley to full-time ranch life and what it really takes to run a ranch, raise a family, and build a nationwide business, all from the middle of nowhere. We talk about everything from grit and entrepreneurship to tallow, education, and why the next generation needs to get their hands dirty early. Mary's got this no-nonsense honesty about the highs and lows of ranching and business that I think will hit home for a lot of you. She's passionate, grounded, and totally fearless. So grab your favorite drink and settle in. It's time to dig in with Mary. Mary, thank you so much for always being so willing to join us. And I know your story has been told because it's just a good one, but give us a little brief, for anyone listening who might be new, who is not familiar with you or all the different things that you have going on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Of course. Well, thanks for having me, Kirby. Always excited to be a part of anything you guys do. And Dirt Diaries sounds like a great place to just have a little chat today.
Dig in a little bit, right? Get dirty.
Yeah, I love it. We are Five Mary's Ranch, and we've been ranching for almost 11 years after a total lifestyle change. My husband and I are both longtime California agricultural families, 5 generations deep, but we were living in the suburbs. He was a lawyer. I had a bunch of small businesses, and we had 4 little girls in rapid succession, and just kind of realized that we wanted something a little bit different to raise our children than a suburban life. And at the same time, we had been trying to figure out how we could raise cattle, really great quality cattle for our restaurant. And things just kind of converged, and we pulled up chalks and left our businesses, sold our house. And my husband closed his law practice, and we moved to a rural town of 600 people 11 years ago to start ranching.
It's so wild. So wild. But you guys, you have created something out on a ranch and have created this ranch life that people, it's fascinating. I'm saying that people are fascinated by, but I would say like the ones that are viewing it from maybe a social presence, a digital presence. Mm-hmm. It's just interesting. You've created this platform to where you can really advocate for so many different things in the industry, which I think is special. But so let's kind of go into it. Break apart your businesses. Tell everyone kind of what each entity that you have going on and what you guys do.
So when we ranching, we knew that we wanted to do direct to consumer. We were passionate about raising cattle with really good genetics, with a great feed program, with a barley finish, dry aging. We knew that we wanted to create a product that was awesome. We always say we don't do anything unless we're proud of it. We don't do it unless it's awesome. So to do that, requires so much infrastructure. And I think in a lot of ways, it was easier for us to start a new operation from scratch and say, this is the end result. We want direct to consumer. We're going to take these cattle all the way from AIing them to calving, to backgrounding, to feeding, to finishing and shipping out to someone's doorstep. It's gotten a lot more popular over the years, and it's a great way for ranches to find extra income, but it's hard to do. It's hard to do all those steps. Yeah. So starting from scratch, we bought a ranch that was dilapidated, needed a lot of work. We had to set up the infrastructure, and that kind of snowballed into a brand that's not just selling meat. I think Brian and I have always said how important it is to diversify because we know the world changes quickly. We've seen in the last 5 years. so that we always have an opportunity to continue to be profitable, to continue to be successful, even if, the markets change, the commodities change, the world changes. So we raise beef, but I've done cookbooks. We do olive oil and honey and whiskey and wine. We
And
have
tallow. You do tallow now,
and do
right?
tallow. Yes, I know. I brought some to show you. Tallow is our
Yeah.
new favorite thing. I'll have to send you a box. Lip
I need you
oils.
to, I want to dive into the tallow thing in a minute. Not yet, I know, but very
Yes,
interested. Oh, the essential oils.
it's a cooking
Or,
stick.
oh, it's cooking stick.
Yeah, I know. The
Wow.
tallow
Okay.
world is like my favorite thing to talk about. But yeah, we diversified to grow our business, to have some safety, and also just Brian and I love big ideas. So, we're like, hey, there's an opportunity to do this or that. Like, what if we take advantage of this opportunity? The Old Town Bar came up for sale in our small town, and we said, man, the place has got such a cool story. It's pre-prohibition. Like, somebody needs to take that and make it an awesome restaurant for this town after we swore off doing restaurants ever again. And that, of course, became us. We jumped in and said, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to do this for our brand. A big Achilles heel for ranchers is the processing. We were driving 10 hours round trip to process our animals up in Oregon multiple times a week. And we just didn't have quality control over that step. And it's so important when you're putting all this energy into raising these animals right, not to just hand it off and have someone do the last step, the packaging and the cutting incorrectly, and not to be taking advantage of every part of that animal, from the bone broth to the tallow. So 5 years ago, we jumped into building our own USDA butchery. We call it Five Mary's Custom Meat Co. We're super proud of it. It's probably the hardest thing we've ever done. But we have this custom butcher shop with a team of 8 people who are harvesting all of our animals. Well, we harvest on the ranch. So we had to build it in 2 stages. So we do an on-ranch harvest, which is its own USDA facility. So the way we set this up is best for animal handling, but it means we run 2 USDA facilities. We have 2 USDA inspectors at all times. But we just worked with Temple Grandin to design this on-ranch harvest. It's the smallest project she'd ever done, but she said it's one of the ones she was most excited about because she wishes that more small ranches could do the same. Wading through regulations and all those things just made it really difficult. But with Brian's law background, that kind of helped give us the confidence to say, all right, we have to figure this out. We've got to be able to figure this out. And then, we have our wellness kitchen where we make the tallow. So we've really grown the operation to be more than just beef over the years. But it's all part of the Five Marys brand.
Which is so cool. The last time you and I spoke, I think it was December. We were at the NFR, but were you guys starting a camp too, or where you? Okay, can you talk about that a little bit, or how's that going? What's happening there?
So in the beginning of our, ranching journey, we had to be scrappy. We're like, tractors are expensive, and now, we need silos, we need this, we need that. So we were doing whatever we could to, make this whole operation work. So we started doing hospitality retreats on the ranch. We set up wall tents, an outdoor kitchen, and we would invite people to come spend a weekend with us, wake up in the morning and do chores. My brother-in-law, who's a 5th generation cattle rancher, was like, so let me get this straight. You have people paying you to move water lines in the morning? We're like, yeah.
It's great, actually. It's nice help.
Yeah, exactly. But it was great because it really allowed us to spread the word and have people experience Five Marys, and they became lifelong customers. But after a few years, we sort of grew out of the ability to host these events. As the kids got older, we're traveling for rodeos all the time. Yeah. Hosting people and hospitality is a lot. But last year, we did a teen camp. So, Brian is a great girl dad, but he's so good with boys too, making sure that they get some grit in them. And we said, gosh, it would be really cool to give these kids who, especially lately, are on screens a lot or have been stuck inside. And, post-pandemic, we're on computers in their home all day. Mm-hmm. So we said it'd be great to open up our ranch to some city kids and bring them out here and show them what it's all about and really show them where their food comes from. So we had these teenagers eyes wide open, and we actually harvested a pig. So from pulling it out of the field, dispatching, the nice way to say
Yeah.
that part. And then taking it to Five Mary's Custom Meat Co. They cut their own pork chops. They made their own sausage. We hiked them up to the top of the ranch that night and taught them how to build a fire, cook their own dinner. And it was truly like, here, this is where this meat comes from and what's involved. There were tears, but in a good way. These kids were just like, wow, I have never experienced anything like this. So it was like a really neat thing to do. And we, shared a lot of it on Instagram. So it reached a lot more people than just the kids who attended the camp. But people are like, this is what America needs. We need to get these kids like gritty.
Yeah. I think that's something to be said too. You mentioned the screens, and I know we have really gotten to this digital age, if you will, of where like we lose like interaction with people. And obviously I know we're interacting right now, via screen. So jokes on us for saying that. But like, I mean, it's just one of those things where people, I think even coming into an office, and I've told some younger people that as they've been getting ready to graduate and they're like, well, I want a remote job. And I'm like, I get that. But also like having a company culture or being face to face with people, I was like, you learn a lot about yourself, like outside of being professional. So I think I love that you are able to provide experiences to people outside agriculture to just see like, hey, you are connected to ag in some way because you're eating every day and this is how it happens. I mean, what's some of the feedback you got from that? What were the takeaways some of those kids would say?
A lot of them said like, I'm going to be thankful every time I eat dinner because somebody worked as hard as I worked today to like put this food on my plate. And I think, to have kids at a young age recognize that and go home and like tell their friends and carry that with them is a big deal. But all of us, agriculture has a great story to tell. And yes, screens, come with their own challenges, but really, I think it brings us back to the way things used to be where all areas had a butcher shop downtown and a farmer next door, and you'd buy your meat from them. And now the rural urban divide is a lot bigger, and so people don't have farmers for neighbors unless they're living in a rural community. But we can open up our world on Instagram and share a piece of our life and show people what that's like. And thanks to shipping, like Amazon and UPS and FedEx make it as easy to get something on someone's porch as an Amazon box. So by sharing our world on social media and then putting our products, like whatever you raise, whether it's like honey or flowers, you can put these products in a box and get them to somebody's doorstep overnight. And then they feel that connection. They trust the source. They know where it came from, and they feel a connection to whoever raised it. And that's just so cool that, anybody can do that.
Okay. Taking us back to when you and your husband were talking about, hey, we're going to make this life, transition. How old were the girls when you guys did that?
They were 1, 3, 5, and 6.
Oh, okay. Very young. Okay.
They were little. So they were all still in car seats.
Wow. Did you see your vision being what it has evolved into today?
Nope.
Yeah.
Brian and I joke, we had like a pro forma for like how the ranch would work. And it's just like, that was a total joke, like totally wrong. What were we thinking? Our motto in small business is always work as hard as you freaking can to just keep pushing the ball forward and make things happen, adjust when you need to adjust. But people are like, oh, what are your margins and you're this and you're that. And we're like, we don't spend the time to sit down and
spreadsheet
really,
that out. Yeah.
No, because it's just more important that we keep working to keep pushing this ball forward than being mired in the details. And I think for small businesses, sometimes you get nervous, like, oh gosh, I don't have a business degree. Like, how am I going to know how this is all working? You just keep going and you keep making it happen. And with our kids, like, yes, we wanted them to have this life outside, but we never really imagined what that would be. For first few years, Brian said, no horses. Like, we can't deal with horses. There's too many other animals.
Now I feel like you're always going down the road. You guys are all in the truck with trailer together. Yeah. You actually have your big semi, right? Your rig and going to a rodeo. And I mean, that's fun too, though. Like those experiences and memories, you're going to have to cherish that forever.
It is. I know it's such an important time. And we keep saying that, we've still got all the girls at home and everybody rodeoing together, and that we wouldn't trade that for anything. It's hard to leave the ranch, hard to find help, but it's a priority for us.
And FFA, I mean, they're involved in a lot of activities.
Yeah, they
Wow.
are. And they do, we do a combination of public schools so that they can do FFA, and then they do online schools so they can do honors and AP classes.
Oh, that's
And that
nice.
really is great for being able to travel.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's nice that they're able to kind of do both. So like they
Yeah.
can travel and go do everything. Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Real quick. I mean, I say real quick. We've got some time to talk, but I just always have so much ground I want to cover with you. Tallow. Tell me about the
Mhm.
tallow because I feel like I've seen it blow up over the last, I don't know, 6 to 9 months.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about it.
Which again, thanks social media.
Yeah.
Like TikTok has brought tallow back. It is, something our ancestors used, and people are like, it's a combination of people wanting to know what they're putting on their bodies,
Mm-hmm.
what they're putting in their bodies, not have artificial ingredients and all of these preservatives. And that with like using the whole animal, but the tallow phenomenon is really interesting because it has been around for centuries. It's nothing new, like people use tallow to tan hides and to cook with. And we've gotten to like all these like, seed oils and canola oil and in our restaurants, that's what everybody was using in the fryers. And a couple years ago, we were like, wait, we're throwing away this beef fat. We could just be rendering this down and using it in our fryers. And not only is it so good for you, it's, and hip, there's like an app that shows which restaurants cook in beef tallow. Doesn't really
That
work
is
in a small
wild.
town. I know.
That's, yeah, that good person.
I
Good for
didn't
that
even
person creating that
bother
app.
to put our restaurant on it because no one's making the drive just for beef tallow to where we live. But it's cheaper. Like we were spending a fortune on this like oil that was not great. And like just by putting the time in and saving our tallow, it's like saving money and has all these great benefits. But we started making the face tallow, and feedback is incredible. I mean, people literally are like, I threw away 10 products off my shelf and saved $1,000, and all I'm using is this. And this is beef suet. So it's the suet is the hard kidney fat.
Okay.
And then it becomes tallow after you've rendered it. So it's beef suet and castor oil, which is great for
So that
pimples.
castor oil, which I look really shiny on this thing, but I'm always pretty shiny. I lather castor oil on morning and night. That's like my moisturizer. So, but I need to switch to tallow. But
Well, you can do both, but
yeah,
yeah, castor oil is making a comeback as well. And then it's scented with frankincense. Smells great. Even the unscented, it's like when you're using really clean suet, you don't need to scent it very much. Like it doesn't
that's
have
good.
that deep beefy smell, but it's all about the quality of the suet. It's like if you care about that steak, where that steak came from you're eating, you better care about where your tallow is coming from because it is not all created equal. But tallow is a really cool product that I, tell a lot of my M5 entrepreneurs, like my small business friends, like if you want to start a direct to consumer operation, like tallow is a great way to start because you don't need a lot of equipment. Anybody can do it. And everybody is buying tallow right now. But this tallow stick, so we sell cooking tallow as well in a jar. So you spoon it out, coat your pan, coat your blackstone, cook eggs in it, with a little bit bigger amount. You can fry veggies, fry potatoes. Like it adds such a great flavor, but you're kind of digging out of the jar. Tallow should be hard if it's a good clean tallow. So we put this stick together that you can raise and lower. And then this you just coat your pan with. So you don't have to use any
Yeah.
utensils or anything. You can season your cast iron, you can coat your blackstone, you can cook your eggs in it. Like this makes anything nonstick. It has a high smoke point. Like how cool is that we're getting this from beef fat?
Yeah. And I mean, I like your different tactics of obviously from the jar marketing with, I think it was a green jar and then the
Yeah.
stick. Who's like the brand, who envisions how like the branding and the packaging looks? Is that you?
I do by necessity because as we all know, it's hard to find, especially in a small town, it's hard to find
Yeah.
anybody. But I early on in my entrepreneurial days, I taught myself Adobe Illustrator, which I tell everybody, if you're going to learn one thing as a small business owner, it is like Canva on crack. Like it opens up so many doors. We've done like cookbooks and magazines and all of our marketing materials, all of our labels, all of our packaging is is just, I whip it up on Adobe Illustrator and send it to print, and we've got lip balms as well. These are kind of fun. We do
Look
like a
at that.
roller balm and
Yeah.
a lip gloss. And we're really trying to appeal to the teens too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's this whole
Is that
Sephora
because you have
trend.
some teen girls I know at the household? Maybe they're like, hey, we need this.
Yep, I have a few of those around here.
I'm
But I
sure
saw
they
what they
like
were
give you some good
using.
like critiques on what,
Mhm.
right? What's working and what's not.
Totally. But it's funny, they're like always skeptical at first. They're like, Mom, what are you doing now? And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, can you bring me another jar of that blue tansy tallow home? I really like it. I'm like, you bet.
Their skin's gonna, it already looks beautiful. But I'm like, man, starting that at such a younger age, then I always laugh like when I see things on social media and the girls in college are really doing like the 7-step, skincare routine. I was like, I used Olay because like my grandma used that, I think, and I barely
Yep.
drank water. I sold a water bottle maybe like once every 2 weeks in college. I was like, what was I thinking? Gosh.
I
But
know. Times have changed.
they really have. I'm okay building the house. Where are we at on that? Because I also think that's pretty interesting. You guys were building this whole businesses, and I know you had said you guys were living all in the ranch house, right?
Yeah, Brian says I've really earned it for 11 years, because when we bought what we thought was like our forever home in the Bay Area. It was beautiful. I felt so lucky to live there. And it was 17 months later that we decided to move to 760 square foot cabin with no heat, no dishwasher. The girls all shared one bedroom and one closet. And we thought, oh, well, we'll build a house like within a year. And here we are 11 years later, because ranching's expensive and there's a lot of input. And we spent so much time outside that it wasn't a huge priority. But about last year, we started trying to think ahead and thinking, when these girls are going to be in college soon, and we want this to be the place they come back and they bring all their friends. And the house we were living in was not guest friendly. It freezes on the inside of the windows. You can see straight through the walls. There's no insulation. It was built in 1868, which is really old for California. So we're building our forever home, our dream home, our ranch house. And it's been really fun to see it come together. I've never seen the kids more excited about anything. But it's a process. It's also like, there's 10 decisions to make every day, and it's it's a lot, but we hope to be in by the fall, so it'll be really special to have our family there.
Yeah, hopefully you guys will. And I like that thought process of having the girls be able to come back with their friends or their boyfriends one day or their husbands, and like they'll want to come back too. I mean, I wouldn't say they didn't want to come back with the 700 and something square foot, but it'll be a little easier to come back to
exactly.
something with a little more space. We were laughing here at the Dirt Diaries team, I should say. I just became aware of this. I didn't know this. Ballerina FarmHer, if I'm wrong here, correct me. She went through one of your courses.
Yeah,
Can you talk about that?
They when they wanted to start out, they came to the ranch. She came to one of my first in-person courses. And she's become a good friend, and it's really amazing to see their journey and how much they've grown. But we stayed up in my living room the first weekend she was here, designing her logo and making her first bags and figuring out how they were going to get their first pork product to customers. And she was like, how do I even open this computer? She brought her husband's laptop. And she's such a sweet person. But yeah, it's been amazing to see their journey.
I know. And that's what I was like, wow, because, obviously I seeing it on social media and we were just like, oh my gosh. And then I think maybe it was Raquel who told her, she's like, she went through Mary's, one of her programs. I was like, what? That is crazy. Can you talk about the programs a little bit and just your curriculum and your thought process behind it?
For sure. So, when we started doing direct to consumer and we said shipping meat is going to be the way to go, but there was nobody I could talk to then who was doing it and say what do you use for boxes? What are the best liners? How do you deal with dry ice? And how do you get shipping rates to not be $300 a box? And we just had to do trial and error, and we wasted so many dollars and so much time that, once we kind of figured out the secret sauce of shipping, I had people asking me all the time. And so I was coaching people through okay, here's what I do. So I was what? I just should make this a course where people can log on and say, okay, what does she use? What works for her that I might use? What do I want to do differently? And I also felt very fortunate to come to agriculture with so much small business knowledge. I was a serial entrepreneur. I started businesses before I knew what the word entrepreneur was. I never went to business school. I was pre-med. It just sort of is something that I've always been passionate about, and I have been self-taught along the way. So people in agriculture were like, okay, here's how, you're going to need to AI, or here's what you're going to need to do to put in a pivot. So people shared their agricultural knowledge with us. And so I was like, I want to return the favor and share my small business knowledge with them, because mine is not a business school background. Mine is get scrappy, get it done. You can do it, figure out a way. So I was like, I can teach anybody to do the same things I'm doing. Like, you fake it till you make it, but here's the tools that you need to get the job done. So the program's been going for 8 years now. We have over 6,000 other families, mostly in agriculture, who have done some portion of the program. We have like a ranch to retail academy that takes you through every step, including building a meat plant, building the butchery, if that's something that you wanted to do. And then we do smaller workshops. Like we just did a how to make tallow workshop. And people will say, like, why are you teaching people to do competitive products? And my take is, not only does rising tide raise all boats, but there's plenty of people to buy all of our products. A small business, none of us are ever going to scale to the point where we're in every home in America. We find our niche, we serve the people that connect with us, and there's plenty of room at the table for everybody to do that.
I love all of that. Gonna dig in a little deeper now, as if I'm at the house with you in the cabin, actually, with a glass of wine on the couch.
Love it.
I know, make it all, but even talking to you, you are just so passionate about life, work, everything. Your girls and obviously all their dreams. But I mean, taking a step back, is there days where you're just like, we took on too much, we're doing too much? I don't know. I mean, gosh, this is hard. Or, I want to, I want my kids to go in another room. And, are there days like that?
Yes, 100%. I think one of the hardest parts about what we do is having employees. It's on the ranch, we only really have one person helping. And man, we've had a time lately of finding the right person. And, you have to have a really unique skill set to take care of everything on the ranch and see things and solve problems. So we run the ranch pretty lean. It's really just our family and the girls that help us get everything done. But the restaurant has about 20 employees, and the butchery has almost 10 employees. And my shipping operation, it's not an operation, it's a little farm store in our small town. But where we ship, we've got 5 or 6 employees, and then 2 at the harvest trailer, and now a few at the wellness kitchen. And honestly, to me, it's a privilege to employ people, and I'm so proud that we do that. But it comes with a lot of stress and a lot of, feeling like you have more children than you do because you're worried about your employees as well. But between that and just, as any rancher knows, everything breaks, right? It's like the water main broke and the pipe broke and the fence broke and the truck broke and we got to fix this. And my husband is so good at keeping all the wheels on the buses on that side. But there are hard days where you're like, I'm overwhelmed and my to-do list is too long and I don't know how I'm going to get this all done. But I think people in agriculture especially are resilient, and they know that there's no other option. You've got animals to feed that depend on you. So you maybe take a break for an hour, play some Wordle on your phone. But when you don't get to do that for very long, and it's back to work. But when you do something that is so important, like raising livestock and putting food on other people's tables, I think it really pushes you to get through those hard times and keep going.
Is there a quality that you took from either both of your parents or just one of your parents that you really are appreciative today that's really carried you to where you're at today?
Yeah, I'm so lucky. I have the best parents, and my dad is such a hard worker. He was a lawyer, just like Brian was, and very dedicated to his job, and really imparted that you work hard to get the job done work ethic. And my mom got to be a stay-at-home mom and was so much fun, the life of the party, and always I'd have a crazy idea, I'm going to start a backyard summer camp. And she's like, yeah, great idea. Let's do it.
Oh my God, you really were an entrepreneur, from a young age.
Yes, like, and I wish I'd known then that that's what I loved, but it took me until I was 22 to be like, oh, a small business owner. That's what I should be.
Okay.
But yeah, I did a lot of those things, and my mom was so supportive, and I think really gave me that like anything is possible. You can make this happen and do it quickly attitude. Because I think that's what holds a lot of entrepreneurs back is thinking like, oh, I have this great idea, but gosh, what's the next step? Or is somebody going to come along and help me? Like, oh, I should find an investor who wants to help me make this happen. Nope, you just got to do it, and stay up all night, build the website, start making those steps to take action to make these things happen, and they will. But you have to be the one to start pushing that ball forward.
What do you hope that your girls take from you and Brian?
That's a good question. They're over here doing their homeschool work, listening to me. So I hope that they are gritty and that they like want to go out in the world and make things happen and solve problems. I think a lot of young people today I see that are just kind of have a mentality like, oh, it's somebody else's job, or that I'll do what I'm told, but I'm not going to like step out and do much more. And I really hope that whether they're, Francie thinks she wants to be a lawyer and a corporate lawyer in a big firm because that's her personality. And I hope, whether it's that or starting your own business or, running their own ranch or somebody else's, that they have the ability to be gritty, get the job done, and go over and above. Because I think that really comes back to you, and it's getting more rare these days.
Yeah, it is. I know I have some great cards to play some fun little games with you. But before we do, I do want to ask too, is there like ever been a fight that's memorable in your guys' household that you're like, man, I just can't believe we went through that time, or I can't believe this is what we're fighting about, or, because I think, again, people that see you and from the outside, they're like, how do they just keep the wheels on the bus and like no tires popping? We're not having to change one here. And you're like, yeah, we are. But they're like, okay, but you're changing it gracefully. I mean, is there just something, because especially teenage girls.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The teenagers, it's a whole new world. But I will say that, rodeo and having horses and working on a ranch, like they don't really have time for a lot of the like drama or cattiness. Like people ask Brian, oh man, your house must be this with 4 girls. And he's like, no, I love it. Like they're capable humans. But, of course it's like we come in at night and it's like somebody forgot to sign up for the rodeo entries in time, and somebody forgot to do this, and nobody fed the dogs, and there's a lot that we all have to do together to keep things moving forward. But for the most part, I'm thankful for this lifestyle that they don't have a lot of time for teenage drama.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, I grew up showing cattle. I think my family, we talked about that with you, and we didn't do the rodeo side of things as much, but we went to some. And anyways, I just think it keeps you busy, and it exposes you to a lot of different things. In so many ways, I was like, oh, I sometimes felt sheltered, but I'm like, I guess I really wasn't. I was exposed to a lot.
Yeah.
And it requires you to grow up. I don't want to say faster, but just grow up in a different way to where you're like, I don't even want to exert any effort into that.
You have totally different responsibilities than a lot of kids. Tessa has her first show steer this year.
Oh, I love that.
Yep. He's a beautiful club calf, and she's out there every morning, and she's got the blower and all the things. But yeah, I think having those kind of responsibilities really makes you kind of understand like what's important, and that there's not a lot of time to waste when you have to when there's so much responsibility that you sign up for. They choose to have horses, they choose to have show cattle and be a part of that, but it's great for the whole family.
I love that. Okay, we'll get into these lovely questions that Jenna and Holly put together because they are so fun. This one's called Build a Business or Brand a Cow. So I'll give you 2 totally different tasks and ask which one, you'd rather tackle.
Okay.
So would you launch a new product or help with calving season?
I mean, always launch a new product. It's my favorite thing to do. I love the calves, but
brand a steer or design merch?
Can I combine them and like design some merch, with a cattle brand on it?
There you go. Again, the entrepreneur in you. Field Instagram DMs or load a livestock trailer?
These are tricky because I love the ranching side of things, but my job, we always say my job is to sell it. Brian's job is to raise it. So I'm usually his like assistant on the ranch, but he's doing that. But I'd have to say I would go for loading the livestock trailer because sometimes it's nice to not be on Instagram. And as we all know, some of those Instagram DMs will really
They're not
get you.
nice.
No.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm too sensitive today. Don't come at me on a Tuesday like that. I
I
don't
know.
like this outfit either, but it is what it is. Okay.
Exactly.
I get it. Well, and I mean, you have so many followers and people watching your every move in a way. And you have admirers and then you have people who just
And I feel
having a bad
lucky.
Tuesday.
99.9% are so kind and nice, and I don't get a lot of the haters. But like somebody yesterday was coming after me because we were blood drawing, preg checking heifers, and she's like, "Why aren't you wearing gloves?" I'm like, "Why do I need gloves?" She's like,
And why do you care?
It's feces. I'm like, "Yeah, that's my life. Like I'm always got some cow crap on me somewhere, so gloves aren't gonna help."
I get it. Butcher day or book tour?
Butcher day. It's funny. I like love doing my cookbooks, but I'm kind of an introvert, which like, on Instagram doesn't really seem like it, but I'm only talking to my phone and
Yeah.
I don't really love like big events and talking to a lot of people. So definitely butchery day.
Butcher day. Okay. Update a website or build a fence?
Update the website for
Yeah.
sure. I don't know if anybody loves building fence.
And if they do, wow. I mean, if we release their name, people would be calling them. They'd be building fence every day,
Yep.
the rest of their lives.
Exactly.
Okay. This one's called Real Talk RanchHER. So just candid, unfiltered questions, for you. What's something about ranch life people romanticize but really shouldn't?
All of it. I mean, I think, there's so many people like, oh, I want a homestead and I wanted this. And you're like, it's like that saying, like everybody wants to wear Carhartt till it's time to do Carhartt stuff. Ranching is gritty. It's hard. It's dirty. It's late. It's cold. It's hot. And it's, ranch animals aren't cute little fuzzy Highland cattle. Like they're covered in poop and they have abscesses and it's hard work. I always draw the fine line of like not romanticizing on Instagram too much, but I also have to sell my product and I want people to think that these cows live this beautiful, perfect life on green grass all the time. So I think a lot of it is romanticized. And when people get down to it, it's not going to be as easy as they think.
I agree with you on that one, especially. And we always kind of thankful for Yellowstone because I think it exposed so much. But it is funny. I was like, not everyone looks like John Dutton and not everyone lives on a place with that backdrop. I mean, it was beautiful, but if we all did, that would be lovely.
Right. I mean, can we all have the cook who just like brings dinner to the table?
Yeah, I know that would be great too. The best business decision you ever made?
I think being an entrepreneur with my husband. So like when he met me, he was a lawyer, I was an entrepreneur, and he was at a big law firm and was kind of like, wait, your life is so flexible. And yes, we both work hard, but he sort of jumped on the entrepreneur train after we were married. And luckily we did some businesses together in the Bay Area, which was a good practice for ranching because it's, morning and night and you want to throw fence flyers at each other sometimes. But we really balance each other out and work really well together. Like we have, different strengths in different areas, but our favorite thing to do is, grab a cold Coors Light and go around and do chores together for 2 or 3 hours at night. And it doesn't feel like work. It feels like, been waiting for this all day. So I'm really glad that we can be entrepreneurs together and find a way to enjoy it.
And that's important. And the Coors Light does help, I think, sometimes.
Always.
You're like, you know what? Yeah, yum. You've been on a lot of podcasts. You've been on a lot of TV shows. You've done so many different things. What's a question that you wish you've been asked and been able to answer that no one's ever asked you?
That's a great question. Well, we have something new in the works that I have not told anybody yet. So I feel like Dirt Diaries
Breaking
is the place
news.
to tell it.
Love this for us.
So, rodeo is a big part of our life and our girls' lives. And we spent a month in Wickenburg, Arizona, which Brian calls Disneyland for team ropers and breakaway ropers. and really fell in love with the area and the ability to, you know, get your horses out of the mud for the winter. And the girls could team rope and breakaway rope and barrel race to their heart's content. And so we bought a property in Wickenburg. And of course, we're not, you know, can't do anything normal, and we're the go big or go home, no matter what we do. So we found a property that hopefully will be an income generating property, which means we're starting another business. But it's called Five Mary's Hidden Hacienda. And we just closed last week, and it's an RV park, arena, rentable stalls. It has a great house to do like events. I have big dreams to do like learn to be a cowgirl bachelorette parties and teach people how to rope. So that it's a little overwhelming when you said, do you ever think like, what are we doing? Yes. Last week when we closed on this new project, but we should have it all up and running by next season. So the Wickenburg season is, like usually October through March. And we're just really excited to have, you know, the girls will have the ability to do different things to like start smaller businesses there and have people that we love either through Instagram come experience a little bit of that Western lifestyle and roping and rodeo, or people, you know, the families that we already know come stay with us. So it's going to be the place to be.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, one, but two, how fun. And I mean, just a little turn of events right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the weather, you can't beat the weather.
You can't beat the weather.
I know it can get really hot in the summer, but I mean, still, it's beautiful and it's dry, and which, I mean, you have great weather where you guys are at for most of the time.
Most of the time. It's a long winter though. We get snow. And
how is it? Is it really? Does it snow a lot up there?
I know, California, right? But we're in the mountains and we're almost at the Oregon border. So yeah, we'll be in the teens. Yeah, we're above Alturas.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, like, you do.
Yeah, northwest.
Okay, that's what I thought. Oh my gosh, yeah, you do get some interesting weather up there.
It's cold.
Well, again, thank you for sharing that. This is exciting.
I know.
We'll have to go out there and do some Dirt Diaries podcasts.
Yes, we will. I know. We'll have to do some RanchHER events there too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. Yes, RanchHER and FarmHer events. That'll be fun. What is the biggest lesson, I guess, that the ranch has taught you?
I think, you know, early on, I realized how capable my kids were and that I needed to raise my expectations of them. You know, when we first moved here, it was like drinking from a fire hose. Like, oh my gosh, so many things to learn, so many things to do. And I went from being like overly like doing things for my kids. Granted, they were little, but I was like, wait, you're 6, you can totally do the laundry, and you're 5, but like you can make pasta. And then on the ranch, you know, taking care of animals, like they can work the squeeze chute, they can get cattle in, they can sort, like they can do all these things that I never would have expected that they could have done in our old life. And that's carried on, you know, they're just so capable and a big part of what we do. And I don't know if I would have recognized that if we hadn't changed gears into this lifestyle.
Yeah. Something my family likes to do is at the beginning of the year, we always usually like each of us kind of pick a word and what we want to set the tone of the year for us to be. And one year I remember I was in a season of life, so I picked grace. Like I just wanted to allow myself grace and make sure to allow other people grace. And like this year I picked build because I just want to build on whatever I'm doing and build more in my friendships, relationship, whatever that is. And so if you could pick a word for your year this year, what word would it be?
That is a great question. We've talked about this with the girls before. And I think one word that comes to mind is nourish. You know, we've built a lot of things here and you can't just move along to the next bright, shiny thing. So I think it's really important to not only nourish my family and the season that we're in of, you know, the golden days, still having the girls all home, and nourishing those friendships. I just did a reel a couple of days ago that was like, showed, you know, one kid on the trampoline and Brian and I cooking pizzas and the girls roping a dummy. And it was like, build the place where the kids want to be and you'll be so thankful you did. And, you know, nourishing this time we have together as a family while nourishing our businesses and nourishing people's faces with their face tallow. But really continuing to pour into all of the things we're passionate about to make them the best they can be.
I love that. Okay. Well, lastly, Dirt Diaries, obviously derived from, we were just chatting when we wanted to start this off of FarmHer RanchHER. To have more casual conversations as if, you know, I was riding around with you and Brian drinking a Coors Light. I would love to do that. Or sit on the couch with you with a glass of wine. and nourishing my face with some tallow. Whether you had a journal or a diary growing up or have one now still and you write in it, if you were able to write in it that something back in the day that you could read today and it just said, "Dear Diary," what would you want it to say?
Gosh, I am a huge journal keeper, but it's usually like very like transactional. Like I like to document the things that happened, which makes sense with my Instagram documentation. But looking back, I would hope that I, wrote something about building something that I'm proud of. There's so many different ways you can build a business and so many directions you can go and build a family. But none of it's worth it unless you're proud of it. And I think, Brian and I have worked really hard to be proud of the operation that we've built and the family we've built and those we share it with. But I think it's important to sometimes look back at that and say, that's why you're doing this.
Yeah, I like that. Dear Diary, there you go. I did say lastly on that, but really this time lastly, if people want to obviously find out more about all the things that you guys offer, your programs, you name it, buy products from you, buy, the beef. I know your wonderful boxes of beef and everything else. Where can they find you guys at?
We are 5marys.com on Instagram we're 5marys on Instagram, 5marys.com on the internet. And that will lead you to all of the various things, whether you want to buy meat or join the M5 Entrepreneurs Program. We have a little ranch school for kids that is a virtual academy that teaches all the lessons in ranching from, how to weld to drive a tractor. That's great, especially for urban kids that want to learn a little bit more about agriculture. But yeah, that'll take you to all the things.
I love it. All the things. And I can't wait for the Wickenburg, the Hacienda.
I know. Hidden Hacienda is coming soon.
Hidden
You heard it here first.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you as always, Mary, for allowing us just inside your life and sharing all the wonderful stories that you do and joining us here today on Dirt Diaries.
Thanks for having me, Kirby. It was a lot of fun.
Woo! That's it for today's episode of Dirt Diaries, where the women of ag leave no story untold. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone else. Until next time, keep showing up, speaking out, and getting your hands dirty.